an example of passive mode. You have seen the Doppler radars set up at different places. Doppler radars in Calcutta or Bhubaneswar or in Vizag or in Madras. They operate in the passive mode. So they create their own energy, they have their own source of emission, and then they record back the information. So this is what is in a kind of uh, collection of information that we are doing. So advantage of this optical remote sensing, advantage of this microwave remote sensing over optical remote sensing is it is time independent. That means at any time you can collect the information, whether it is rainy, whether it is dry, whether it is of any type of snowfall going on, that time also you can collect the information of the ground. It is weather independent, time independent, you can collect during night also, collect during daytime also. Sensitive to moisture in soil, vegetation and snow, so these properties are also very well assessed. Enhancement of surface roughness and relief is one of the most important attributes to have a good remote sensing of microwave region. Penetration of soil and vegetation cover is also possible. Ability to collect data which are far away from the flight paths. That means this in a active mode, we can collect the information in the microwave region far away from the track of the movement of the flight. So that is how SLR, side-looking urban radars, are mostly placed in the aircrafts which are used by the defense people to collect information of the border territories, what sort of activities are going on. So this is a military application of this microwave remote sensing. Well, valuable for timely monitoring of soil moisture. So these are the areas where this microwave remote sensing is used. If people are interested to assess the soil moisture, crop vegetation, snow cover, the geological features, coastal zones, urban extensions, man-made targets, ocean wind factors, wave spectrums, wave height and atmospheric parameters. These are all being studied through this microwave remote sensing. So this is one of the important areas. This thermal remote sensing and microwave remote sensing are those areas to which we cannot see things. So we may feel the heat, but we cannot record the heat. And these are the thermal. Similarly, we can see certain things. So we cannot see certain things that also can be recorded through this. So this is what is the advantage of that we don't see those things and we collect information about those. And in the microwave region of the electromagnetic spectrum, these are the different bands, K band, X band, C band in different wavelengths which are available with the different satellites. And surface roughness is one of the most important attributes of the microwave remote sensing because the object will be looking brighter in the image when the surface roughness is high on the ground. So any feature which is having a rough and high relief, those areas are likely to be brighter, whereas a plain surface is likely to be darker. So this is what is a kind of reflectance of information collection process in which our images are being obtained. There are two important radar satellites which are operating now. There are quite a number of radar satellites out there, but these are the two most important ones. ERS-2, that is the European satellite, which carries this sensor, microwave sensor, which has the temporal resolution of 35 days, operates in C band, and with an incident angle of 23 degree, and scene size is 20 into 4. That is the dimension of this swath. And then in the RadarSat image is the RadarSat satellite is another satellite, Canadian satellite, which has a temporal time span of 24 days, operates in the X band and 50 by 50 kilometers, and it varies from 8 to 100 meters in the resolution, depending upon the kind of bands which are used there. And these microwave images are also possible to be viewed under stereoscopes. So there is a possibility of a stereo viewing with the RadarSat image. So this is how there are these radar satellites. They collect the information from two different places. And these two different places can correspond to a person standing with this height from the ground with their two eyes. And these two eyes can fuse together to a particular area to give a 3D image of that particular region. As we see as our eyes, two eyes, we see the objects in 3 dimensions. Similarly, this can be fused into through the stereoscope to get a stereo viewing and a three-dimensional image in the laboratory, and then we can go for interpretations or any other kind of applications. So this is the reason how this useful uh, microwave remote sensing is. Coming to this visual interpretation which we have discussed yesterday, there are different bands available in the remote sensing in the visible region and near infrared region, which corresponds to this blue band, then infrared band, green band, and red band. And the combination of this is a band combination of the image. And these are fused into different multispectral images, to which we may call it as FCCs. We convert this into FCCs and try to interpret the objects. So advantage of using this image over the ground observation is, because these observations one can also collect by moving on the ground. But what the advantage of this remote sensing is, it gives a synoptic view of a large area which we cannot see in a ground survey. Time freezing ability is also there with the remote sensing information collection. And there can be a permanent record the moment you are storing this, because if you are making a ground survey, creating a map, and this map cannot be permanently stored, but this can be permanently stored in a digital format. Spectral resolution we can control, spatial resolution we can control, cost and time effectiveness can be possible, stereoscopic view is also possible, brings out the relationship between different objects when we see in a very synoptic way. So these are some of the advantages for which remote sensing has become most useful now, and people are very much congenial now to use this remote sensing images in our normal day-to-day studies, research, and application programs. Even in governance also people have started using it. And the interpretation of this remote sensing data, whether it is optical remote sensing products, whether it is microwave remote sensing products, whether it is thermal remote sensing products, the products are to be interpreted to get our target. What for we are interpreting and what should be our objective to extract information. So those extraction process or interpretation process will depend upon how you are trained. It is not just a theoretical knowledge is going to help you. Theoretical knowledge is the background to the whole subject, but you have to develop the skill through your trainings and experiences in handling through the computers, because most of these visual interpretations are having a limitation. You have to go for digital interpretations, and when you go for a digital image interpretation, you need a bit of training, you need a bit of experience, you need a bit of practice, and that is how the skill acquired will be very much useful and helping you in. So interpretation possibilities are mostly controlled through your training experience, practical experience, and field exposure, and the theoretical mappings. The nature of object and phenomena, what kind of object and phenomena you are handling, and the quality of the images of the photographs that you are using, and what are the kind of equipments and methods of interpretation, what type of software you are using, what is its capability of handling the data, and that is what is the speed at which it is processing. So like that we have a lot of equipmental characteristics and methods of interpretation which varies from software to software. Depending on the need, you have to get into some of the softwares which are capable of handling all these possible, because all softwares may not be possible to handle all the possible data. Like optical, something is better for optical, something is better for microwave, something is better for thermal. So interpretation keys, guides, and manuals and other aids has to also be useful. You have to develop. There are standard keys, there are standard guides, there are standard manuals. Just like a, informations are locked with the image, you have to use the keys to open the lock and then get into the information. This interpretation key is very important, and these keys vary from place to place, because the lock varies from place to place, the key also varies from place to place. So you need to understand those keys of opening the images or thermal or any other image that you are using. And then prior knowledge of that, that is what is theoretical knowledge, that you must have a background to that, what you are going to study, and what is the knowledge behind this, what the laboratory knowledge available to us, what the theoretical principles involved in it. So quite a lot of things are involved. So all these things actually govern, but it is not impossible. It's not an impossible science, it is a very possible science people have started using. And if you take it in a scale like this, that very sophisticated mobiles, you do not get a training, but you start using the mobiles, and similarly also GPS instruments. And here also the same thing you can take as an experience, go to the tutorials of the YouTubes and various other sources and try to learn yourself also if you are very much keen and interested in this, because these are the most of the important factors which will govern your interpretation capability. And then in the image interpretation, what are the steps involved is you have to go for a detection of the targets, what targets you are interested in, whether you are interested in soil moisture or the types of soil or the types of rock or the width of the road or the engineering work to be done over a particular stretch of land or the volume of earth work to be done, like that. What is your target? Then how to recognize that, how to detect that, how to recognize that, and then how to analyze that in terms of its various properties, and then how to get into the deductions based on the sampling process, and then how to classify the data when it becomes a large variety of information, then how to idealize it, and then convergence of the evidences available to get into your final result. So these are some of the activities where you are likely to be involved in the interpretation process, where your targets are assessed. So if you are looking for interpretation key, elements of image interpretation, if you are visually looking, because visual interpretation becomes the first hand information for you, it is just like just look at the satellite image, these are the informations immediately you will be using. You will try to understand the image in terms of tone and color variations, in terms of pattern variations, in terms of texture variations, in terms of size of the objects available within the image, what is the shape of that, then how is the shadow of the various features, then location of these features within the image, association of the different features available inside the image, then what is the scale of the image that you are using, how much of ground distance it is covering, and accordingly what are the dimension of the different features, and then it's different resolutions like temporal resolution, spatial resolution, spectral resolution, radiometric resolution of that image which you are using. So these are some of the elements, or you can call it as interpretation keys at the first end to study a image, whether it is a digital image or it is a analog image. You may use this keys and try to understand the image, and then try to also read the image along with a corresponding map also following this. That will make you little convenient in studying the image if you are that you are how to study these features and these keys and use with respect to the area that is available in a map. And then you proceed further into the complicated actions of digital image processing to get into the various types of ultimate information that you are requiring. So the variation between what is the manual and what is the digital interpretation variations are, we must know there are limitations to manual, because manual interpretation analysis is a very old technique. Just like any other map reading, this is also a kind of reading. Whereas digital processing is taken off with the speed of the computer, so it can carry a large database, it can give us a faster processing, and with the speed of the computer and with the advantage of the softwares that you are using, you can first process and collect the information. Manual interpretation requires little, if any, specialized equipment. You don't need much of specialized equipment, but here in digital analysis requires specialized softwares and specialized equipment, whatever you may be using. The manual interpretation is often limited by analyzing a very limited number of parameters in the image. Whereas in computer environment, you can process a lot of images together, in a lot of bands together to collect the information. So this is what is an advantage. You can superimpose a number of bands and then try to derive the informations. So that is the advantage of digital image. And manual interpretation is a subjective process. It depends on who is the person, what is his skill, and accordingly he will give us the result. But a digital is a very standardized procedure where the steps are being finalized based on the field studies, based on the previous experiences, based on the previous interpretations. So there are standard procedures which we can follow and can land into a very good result of the interpretation. But determining the validity and accuracy of the result from digital processing can be difficult unless you are validating it. But the most important thing is either it is manual or digital, you need a validation of the results which you are deriving from the image, and that is more sense of digital because the features. Here you have a scope to see the features may not be possible with the huge database that you will be processing in a digital format. So a little bit of field experience and then field testing is more important in a digital, but we can have a better result out of the digital image processing. So when we go into a digital image processing, what we are doing? It is a two-dimensional matrix array of the elements that is called pixels or picture elements within a scene of a satellite image. The satellite image is now divided into a number of grid cells, which we call it as pixels, which will be having a particular DN value, which is called as the intensity of radiation available to that, or intensity of energy available to that small pixel through the sensor. So that defines what is the characteristics of the ground for that particular pixel. So this is what is, and that has to be regrouped into the analog image, regrouped in such a way that it will create an analog image for us based on certain procedures. So the process of displaying an image creates a pictorial representation of this matrix. The pixel values are assigned a particular gray level, a monochromatic image, or a particular color in a multispectral image, and then an analog image is created. And then we try to give a presentation based on the analog and then try to also derive information. Just for our information, we can look at the picture. If we are collecting information of a particular theme, look at this. We have collected the information here in a blue band, and here we have collected the information in the green band. This is 0.4 to 0.5, this is 0.5 to 0.6, this is 0.6 to 0.7. These are the three different bands. But the blue color photograph of a theme, you can see this red apple is here, green guava is here, a pink flower is here. But you see in the blue band, what is looking brighter is the amount of energy coming more from a particular object is looking brighter. Here also in green band, wherever it is coming, that is looking brighter. In red band, you can see here that this feature is much brighter here, which is darker over here. That means here the more energy is coming in the red ray. So this is what is, so when we superimpose this, we may try to cover this as red color, making a false color composite in such a way that these features are fused together to give a red color to this, and we create a true color like this, or we can create a false color also. So this is how the different bands of the electromagnetic radiation in remote sensing images are superimposed by using this digital image processing technique, using some of the softwares, and then we try to derive the informations. So now you think of true color photograph is this. This is a blue color photograph in blue band. This is in green band. This is in red band. Together these three will produce a multispectral image like this. So that is what our objective is, to convert these images in terms of pixel values into analog images, superimpose them and try to get this. So all these exercises are the part of the digital image interpretation. You have to follow certain procedures. And coming to a true ground surface, this is a part of Kakinada Bay. Look at this image. This is band 1, 0.4 to 0.5. Look at the features. This is a spit which is looking. This is a part of the sea of the bay. This is Kakinada Bay. And that is in the same band 5 to 6 in the green band. This is in red band. This is in near infrared band. 0.4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 9. So here you can look at that one particular feature. Look at this feature. Here it is dark. The same feature is dark over here, but the contrast is not clear on this side. Here the same feature is there, again the contrast is not clear. Here the same feature is there, contrast is not clear on both the sides. So that means this feature needs to be identified from this band. So theoretically, we know what is this feature. This feature is a water body. It is a river. And the river is looking darker because here there is water, and this is the infrared region. In 0.7 to 0.9 is the near infrared. And infrared spectrum, while collecting information, because all incident infrared energy has been absorbed by this feature. So there has been no energy available from this surface to the sensor, whereas there are variation in the energy from these surfaces. And you can see this feature. So this is dark, all other features are bright. Now look at this feature is bright. And here again you see this is darker, here you see much darker, here also it is darker. What has happened to make it brighter? Because this is the place from where the infrared energy has gone maximum to the sensor. That means what is that object which is likely to have emission of infrared energy? So this is a vegetation, mass of vegetation. It may be patch of forest or any other kind of trees, which is. So when we will make a false color, we will make it as highest energy input area of the scene, we will make it as red. So like this, we are trying to feature out each and every from the different bands, and there are some bands where things are possible to identify some of the features. So this is what is. So ultimately, this is the blue band, this is the green band, this is the red band, and in the multispectral FCC, we have got this is what is the vegetation, this is what is the river, and then there are variations which are giving us different type of features in different tones, textures, and colors and shapes. So this is how, but this is a theoretical understanding of a small feature. But when it becomes a large area, when it becomes a number of bands together, now here it is 3 bands, there may be 4 bands, there may be 5, there may be 10 bands like that. And there may be also other bands to be superimposed with from thermal or microwave along with this. So then there are a lot of complications arise, and we need to handle this by through our digital image processing softwares. And when it becomes a digital image processing, each image of a particular band is converted into a pixel values like this, and with a value that is what is called digital number, DN values. And these DN values are to be regrouped to create a image like this multispectral imagery. They have been regrouped and they have been allotted different false colors to give us a particular information. So we have to regroup this and come to arrive at this type of analog image where features possible to be identified. So this digital format, data available from the satellites are available in different type of digital formats. And you must have to know a little bit about, just I would like to tell you that data format, so for digital image data format, a typical image occupy a very large memory. Suppose in an example, IRS, Indian Remote Sensing Satellite P6, and the sensor is LIS-3. Image is 148 kilometer by 148 kilometer is the swath or the instant field of vision. That is the area which has been seen by the satellite in one glance. So this is what is the area 148 by 148 kilometers. So when this has been converted into a digital data with a resolution of 23.5 spatial 5 meters spatial resolution, and there are 4 spectral regions. So for this area of 148 by 148 kilometers, we have to know that there are number of scan lines are 6,167 scan lines are available with this image. And the number of pixels are per scan line 6,167 number of pixels per scan line. So and there are this much of scan lines and this much of pixels. So total number of pixels comes into, and there are 4 bands, 6167 into 6167 into 4 bands. So total comes to 152 megapixels, that is 145 MB. Simply 148 by 148 kilometer image takes you a memory of 145 MB. So this is what we have to realize, that when we are using a computer, a hardware, it must have the capability with a very large RAM and a storing device, hard disk, where we can use a huge amount of data for this digital image processing. Because this is not the only scene that you will be doing, there will be many such scenes you will be using for a particular area. And this digital data which comes to us, it comes in different BSQ format, BIL format, and BIP format. These are the three different formats, and accordingly we have to also use this in different format, which will carry different memory for processing and the capability of the software. The process involved in the digital image processing is, suppose we have a problem domain that we are interested in interpreting a digital interpretation process for a particular theme for a particular area. So we have to acquire the image. That is the first stage is the image acquisition. And from where the image acquisition will take place? Image acquisition will take place from the Department of Space, National Remote Sensing Center at Hyderabad. So we have to put an indent to them. So while putting an indent, we must know for which area we are asking for the data, what is its corresponding topo sheet numbers, topographic sheet numbers, or what is its latitude longitudinal dimension. If you do not know the topo sheet numbers, then how much of area it is covering, and then after that, after obtaining the digital image of this particular area, you have to go for image enhancement technique, because the image which you will be collecting, there are other processes involved over here. After getting this image, then you may have to rectify it, geometrical rectifications, radiometric rectifications, all those things are there, because whatever the corrections are to be done to the data which are raw data, if you are obtaining. If you are obtaining a corrected data, then you will straight go for image enhancement. Image enhancement means the contrast levels which are to be enhanced if it is required. So in the image in different bands, so that interpretation becomes easier. Then we have to restore the image after an image enhancement, and then we go for a morphological processing by grouping these pixel values to convert into analog images. And then we create segments, different segmentations. Then we go for object recognitions, and then after object recognition, representation and descriptions. And each of these stages, there are different type of statistical and mathematical reasonings, analog processes, and various other kind of principles are followed, which you will be through once you are using a image processing software. That how the particular software handles these important themes with various ways. And ultimately the image will be compressed, and the final image will be coming, color image, after the final processing is over, which is the final product available to the public for use, or available for the people who are supposed to be in the application. So this is the entire process of digital image processing of the major steps, but within each step there are several steps also. That is what is we are supposed to learn from the softwares. And just for your information, if it is image acquisition, you can see this is the area for which I am interested, and now that is the pixel level information available here. There is a latitude longitude for which you would like to place. And then if it is image enhancement, suppose I have got an image like this, but the problem here is contrast is not coming, so I have to do something with that is the software will be helping, which can increase the contrast like this, so that it becomes easier for our groupings of the DN values. And then we will go to the next step, that is image restoration. You can see here the image is available to us. There is a bit of clarity that we can identify the image, but by restoring the image, we are creating a little bit of clarity and a kind of geometry which is relevant for the ground resolution level, and that is the purpose for which we go for a image restoration based on the DEPs, digital elevation models we are using here, and that is another technique of image restorations. And then this is also image restoration process. And then subsequently, if it is morphological processing, then we are trying to group the information through segmentations. And then we are going for object recognition, that is where. And then we are going for representation and description of different themes. And then image compression. So now ultimately the different fields are identified, their attribute tables are created, and different features are available now in different. This is what is called as the background data of the processing, and then subsequently we have a final product which may look like this. The final product is a color processing image. So which is the ultimate final product that comes to the users at the end who will be using it. So this is how the key steps of digital image interpretation techniques. But what has happened is when you are going for digital image interpretation, you have to also get into what type of data you are using from the remote sensing center, what resolution level data you are procuring. Are you using a 1 meter resolution data? Are you using a 5.8 meter resolution data? Are you using a 23 meter resolution data like this? Or are you using a 1 kilometer resolution? That means here this 1 meter means any object in this image having 1 meter dimension can be identified as that particular object. Whereas here, any object which is 1 kilometer or more, they can be just detected. Any dimension less than 1 kilometer, you cannot exactly identify what is the object. So this is what is the basic difference between this spatial resolution. So accordingly, you have to know what sort of spatial resolution data that you are using. So at present, available sensors are in Indian remote sensing satellites that is available now. Most popularly now, these are the two satellites data which are commonly used by people in application areas. IRS-P6, it has a sensor AWIPS, Advanced Wide Field Sensor, with a swath of 700 kilometers, medium resolution 56 meter. It can see large areas at a time, giving a synoptic view. LEAS 3 is a medium swath, 145 kilometer dimension, and better resolution, 23 meter spatial resolution. It can give us information like this, in this level. And then LEAS 4 is a multispectral, having 4 different bands, and again 23 kilometer, but the resolution level is very high. It is 5.8 meter resolution, spatial resolution. And if you are going for Catosat IRS-P5, it is giving us 2.5 meter resolution, and the stereo data is also available with this satellite. And DM generation is possible. This is the Indian two important satellites which are providing data. Besides this, also there are a number of satellites. There are old satellite data are also being stored with the remote sensing center, which also we can indent. And in foreign satellites, RadarSat of Canada, which carries C-band, and 500 to 1000 kilometers swath, resolution 800 meter to 8 meter, varies. European remote sensing ERS satellite, QuickBird satellite, and Icarus. This QuickBird satellite we all are using. Its demo mode that is available to us in the form of Google Earth. This is the QuickBird satellite data which is being presented to us in the name as Google Earth. So these are some of the satellite features. This is INSAT is one of the satellites. It is a communication satellite. IRS are the Indian remote sensing satellites. INSAT is the Indian communication satellite. But sometimes there are sensors which are also doing remote sensing activity. Although primarily this is a communication satellite. This is a charge coupled device camera. Then spatial resolution is 1 kilometer. There are 3 bands. This is one communication satellite, but having some feature of the remote sensing. Then this is a satellite P4, Indian remote sensing satellite, that is called OCM, Ocean Color Monitor. Operates in 8 bands with 360 meter resolution, 1420 kilometers, 12 bit data. That means 2 to the power 12 ranges of pixel values can be obtained for a particular pixel area. And along the track scanning data available from 99 onwards, we are getting the data of this satellite. This is Indian remote sensing IRS-1CD, very old satellite, but still we have the data for this, which are available to us. Indian remote satellites 1A, 1B, one of the very old data, much older than the C and D. And then this is 1A, 1B, that is also old ones. 1C, 1D, that is also old ones. And then this is TES, another important satellite where the PAN sensor is used, which operates in the resolution level of 2.5 meters. That means this is a black and white image you will be getting, but the objects of 2.5 meter resolution can be visible from this with 8-bit data. And these are some of the satellites which have already now in operation for the Indian remote sensing system. So there are different satellites of the Earth observation system with different application areas which And the Indian Remote Sensing and Department of Space have instituted. They are trying to collect the information, establishing its different application areas, standardize the products, and then they send it to the market for people to use. And this IRS P6 is having three sensors, LIS 3, LIS 4, and AWIPS. And this is Cartosat 1, that is IRS P5, which is having 2.5-meter resolution with a pan camera and swath of 27 kilometer by 27 kilometer and 10-bit data. And then we have Cartosat 2 with 1-meter resolution, which is one of the best possible satellite data available with our Indian satellites. And with this data, probably India has launched a larger remote sensing database, which are now very much adored in the foreign countries. People are purchasing data from us now, which was earlier we have been purchasing data from other countries. And in India, remote sensing has now started being used by the central ministry departments. These are the departments which are using Agriculture Ministry, Environment, Forest, Rural Development, Urban Development, Water Resource, Ocean Development, Mines and Technology, Planning Commission, Biotechnology Department, state government agencies, private sectors, NGOs, academia and universities. All these are the users now. Already they have been gone into the domain. And if you go into their application areas, there are application areas in agriculture, forest, water resource, geology, coastal environment, rural development, urban development, cartography, mapping, map productions, global parameters, strategic applications like defense, land and water resource development, natural resource information systems. Like this, large variety of applications have started coming up. And US, all our participants and engineers, has a lot of scope in exploring into and innovating into the different kind of applications possible in their areas. And this is forecasting agricultural output using agrometeorology and land-based observation system. This is a program of the Department of Space supporting to the Government of India's Agriculture Department. What they are doing, they are assessing these crops. They are assessing the final estimate of the what is the amount of crop production that will take place at the stage of the cropping before the crop has come up. There are different first estimate, second estimate, third estimate, and final estimate in 4 different stages, and it is being predicted. So this is how the agriculture department is supported. Westland Atlas of India has been created based on the remote sensing data interpretations in 1:50,000 scale for the whole country, and Ministry of Rural Development is doing this mostly for the developments, land development and other. Flood and disaster monitoring has become one of the important application areas of this remote sensing, where this Brahmaputra flood management has been one of the key areas which is continuously going on, because every year there is a flooding situation in the river Brahmaputra. And then we have also National Agricultural Drought Assessment. Every year the government, the Department of State gives a drought assessment, how much of productivity will be lost or available to us, and how much of area is likely to drought affected. All those things are also taken care of. Groundwater exploration and research under the Rajiv Gandhi mission has been taken place. They've created the base map of the areas, lithological maps, structural maps, and geomorphological maps, hydrological maps, and identified the possible areas of groundwater where the people may go for a drilling, and then putting a bore well and finding out water for the purpose of different kind of activities. So this is one of the important missions. Watershed development capacity building is going on across the country in the drought-prone areas. And satellite remote sensing applications are there with agriculture, soil resource mapping, land degradation mapping, land use land cover mapping, forest mappings, and then water resource mappings, geoscience applications, ocean applications. Then this is International Geosphere Biosphere Project, where the atmospheric land air interactions and the past climate modelings, all these are also done through the remote sensing images. You will be surprised to know when a cyclone approaches, the Department of Meteorology, what they do? They use the thermal remote sensing and the microwave remote sensing. Microwave remote sensing gives us the dimensions of the cloud mass and the cyclone and the vortex and all those features. Whereas the thermal remote sensing gives what is the temperature property of the cloud mass at different altitudes, and accordingly what is the wind vector within the cyclone. what is the wind speed. So like this, people try to make use of the remote sensing in deciphering and studying the informations. And in oceanography applications are also quite a lot. The physical oceanographic application, ocean color parameters, which are related to temperature and to the biomass and chlorophyll content.
Hello.
Yes. And then physical oceanography also sea state parameters, sea surface temperature, waves, and like this, quite a lot of information applications are there. And this is how this OCM, the IRS, Indian Remote Sensing Satellite P4, OCM is the sensor. Then to map, you can see this is the region, areas in the sea, low temperature areas in the sea. Accordingly, one can identify the plankton blooms in different areas and possibilities of fishing. So this is all about the fishing applications, and we are getting potential fishing zone advisories every day in the newspaper. It comes from the Ministry of Department of Space. And this is also the use of satellite data in collecting information. This is the National Institute of
Hello,
Micro.
sir.
Hello.
Sir, sorry to interrupt, sir. Sir,
Yes.
your screen is not visible. Screen, sir.
Screen has gone, not visible.
No, sir. That is not coming, sir. Screen is not coming.
Okay. Just again, in between, why it is?
No, sir. Screen is
problem,
there.
I don't know.
Sir, screen is there, but someone has just interrupted by sharing his own presentation. So everybody they can just maximize the screen by clicking on the fit to screen. Okay.
You can pin to Panda sir's window. That makes it visible.
Acha, what to do again? I will reconnect.
Present. Sir, just present. Hello. Sir, just click the fit to screen or maximize. Yeah,
Hello, now it is visible.
Yes, sir. Now it is visible. So now you can share your screen, sir.
Okay. But there is no problem from my side. What has happened to that?
It is not a problem from your side. Some participant just shared his presentation.
Okay. Why it is not coming? No, my presentation is not coming over here, even if it is I am sharing. What has happened to this?
Yes, sir. Now it is visible.
Okay.
Sir.
Am I audible also?
Yes, sir. You are audible and the screen is visible also.
Okay. So we are just going to the presentation where we have been left behind. This is what is the use of our microwave remote sensing, where in 99 super cyclone in Orissa, the radar sat, at that time India has no remote sensing satellite with microwave sensors. India indented the data from the radar satellite of Canada and tried to interpret, because 3 days continuously the storm was hovering over this coastal Orissa and the cloud was almost there over the sky, and it was not possible to map out the flooding areas that has created out of heavy rain in the cyclonic rain. So they used the satellite, this radar satellite, which was having a microwave sensor, to map out that these are the areas which have been flooded by the 99 super cyclone across these areas. So this is how the applications have also become real time when we are using remote sensing. And now you can look at that, how this, there is a program where Chilka Wetland Management, one of the largest freshwater lagoons, one of the lagoons of Indian East Coast, that is one of the largest ones with about 1100 square kilometer area. And satellite remote sensing is using to monitor the different parameters of the salinity and temperature and other parameters, including the vegetation inside the hydrographic characteristics of this, and the adjacent areas and the morphology, hydrology, and all other features which are being studied using remote sensing and under the name Chilka Development Authority as part of the government of Orissa's program. So like this, we have been using remote sensing in various application areas. And simultaneously, if you are curious to study something that also can be possible, look at this. This is a part of the satellite imagery of Odisha's eastern coast. And look at this. These are red are the vegetation as we have seen in the multispectral scanners. And this is a false color composite. And you can look at this stretch of the land, which looks darker in tone, because the groundwater level is very high and the soil moisture is very high. Whereas these areas, the soil moisture is relatively dry, the land is looking dark, but here the moisture is very high. Look at this particular black circle. There is a lack of green tone in this area. You will be surprised to know normally that in this resolution, what has happened to this area? What is the details of, micro details of this? I will be showing you the next image. This is the next image of the same area in a very high resolution, that you can see that this vegetation on both the sides have been cleared at this particular place. Prawn fields have been created. Sea water has been allowed to come inside through the channels and feeding to these prawn fields, and prawn cultivation is going on. So like this, active environmental monitoring can also be possible with the remote sensing tools. This is another important application of this. Just I am showing, this is a coastal village, because nowadays the coasts have been getting eroded by virtue of a climate change process, and simultaneously coastal erosions are very much rampant along entire part of the Indian east coast and west coast. This is one of the examples. Here you can see this is a village, Podampeta. This is about more than 1 kilometer from the sea. This is the seashore and this is the sea. And what has happened? We are trying to study this through the remote sensing. This is the remote sensing image of that particular village. This village is over here. This is the sea. This is the stretch of the beach. And it is in this year 2004, it was 254 meters from the shoreline. And this point has been established on the map, on the satellite image, and based on the based on our GPS system. And then let us look at next year in 2005, 45 meters have gone into the sea. Sea has progressed towards the land. The satellite imageries are providing information. Next year in 2009, another 49 meters have submerged from the beach. 150, 160 meters left out. And in the year 2011, this is the village has been completely marooned. So like this, remote sensing provides us, the images are providing time specific information to help us in understanding what changes are taking place. And you will be surprised to know the Cartosat 2C, which is operating now and providing us information. We call it the eye in the sky. This Cartosat 2C was having a spatial resolution of 0.6 meter, the highest spatial resolution possible with a satellite image. And using a panchromatic camera which images in black and white and record the minute long videos simultaneously. Cartosat 2C launched in 22nd June 2016. It was one of the 20 satellites that were put into orbit in this historic mission. When 20 satellites were put into mission, this satellite was launched. Apart from Cartosat satellite, a 2000 kg satellite called GSAT-6 is also available from India. India has launched, which was used by the Indian Armed Forces during the surgical strike. The GSAT-6 is capable of streaming videos. So this satellite was capable of streaming videos. This satellite was capable of providing information at the 0.6 meter resolution, spatial information, and this is streaming video. Together was fused together, and the camera on the helmet of the soldiers, which is linked to the GSAT-6, to relay the images and informations while they were engaged in the combat. So according to that, this is how the GSAT satellite and the IRS, this Cartosat 2C together gave us the information about this surgical strike that the army was doing. And the same mechanism was also used by USA during the operation of Geronimo, in which Osama bin Laden was targeted. So this is how remote sensing has also strategic applications. The question remains how you are capable of handling this data scientifically for different applications. And this is what is our, I think we will be ending over here. This is almost approaching to our time. Let me thank all our organizers for giving a scope to present before you that what is the range and gamut of things possible with the remote sensing, how these are being used in the Indian scenario for application areas, what are the scope for our utilization of this remote sensing information so far as the applications are concerned. And then we are also trying to know, so in both the days presentation, I think we have created a kind of knowledge base which may not be technically possible to handle all this, but theoretically we have developed a concept of what this remote sensing is doing for us, what this remote sensing can do for us, how this remote sensing can be utilized with the hands of the experts when it comes to a different type of applications. So there is no limitation to the kind of information that we are getting. Only possibility is how to make use of this with our advanced tools of image processing, which can help us in landing to different estimation of targets and then prediction of phenomena and features. You will be surprised to know when 2004 India was affected with the tsunami, we had no tsunami warning system in place in India. But now with this satellite remote sensing, we have developed our tsunami warning system, which is also operating now. So like this, we have a lot of use of remote sensing techniques in various applications, right from the strategic applications in military areas to the resource applications and economic sector applications also, and in academics and research also. We are using all this in various ways. And as the students of engineering, I am very sure that they are very much at ease with their skill, with their knowledge, with their technology that they are having through their engineering knowledge. I think remote sensing can be a better tool for them if they are going to use it for any kind of application that they think suitable to explore. So this is one of the best possible tools, I think, available to all of us in the 21st century, because nowadays the applications remote sensing has come into our day-to-day life, which we may not realize. When you go for the Ola, Uber applications that you are using in hiring a vehicle, what you are getting? You are getting the information through the GIS framework that is available in the system, that where you are located, where the vehicle is located, and then at what distance it is. So GIS is helping us. But while you are going, you feel that there is a traffic jam at particular junction, at a particular point. how do you get this traffic congestion at a particular time? How that information comes? Because there is a link of this particular GIS framework with the satellite information which goes simultaneously together to give us that here is a time where there is a traffic congestion at this place or there is a problem at this place. So you have to take a detouring route. So like this, there has been application of remote sensing into such type of human use to our convenience. So there are many such areas are going to emerge, and we hope that remote sensing will help us in dealing with our day-to-day situations besides our application areas that we are handling in terms of our socio-economic developments and resource management. Thank you. Let me thank all our organizers. Let me thank Professor Manas Das.
Some queries have come out.
Okay.
Sir, I'm just telling this. But prior
Hi.
to that, welcome Professor UC Mohanty, who will be taking a lecture session tomorrow morning. So, Professor UC Mohanty, an eminent climatologist and a Bhatnagar awardee. So, I welcome you, sir. He has joined. So, the question is, Samita Gad, she has asked, how runoff in urban area is estimated using remote sensing, sir? And how land use data obtained from remote sensing used in GIS to calculate physical characteristics of any watershed area?
Okay. So the runoff from an urban area can be estimated in terms of what is the amount of rainfall that has taken place based on the remote sensing data and the amount of rainfall that has taken place over a particular area. That can be estimated in terms of the volume of water that is coming up within the urban area. And then what are the drainage channels available and how much drainage it is likely to be expected, and what are the areas where the congestions has taken place. The entire problem can be studied if it is being taken care of as a project, and a similar kind of project has already been developed by the Madras University after this Chennai floods. After the Chennai floods, under the collaboration of the Ministry of Science and Technology, they have developed a kind of tool which is going to assess feeding the data of the rainfall from the meteorology department to the land use land cover data of the city and the drainage lines and all the areas where the water storage and then water discharges are possible. So all this together has been framed into a software where the entire monitoring from rain, beginning of the rain till the flood disposal, entire process is being recorded. So things are possible, because the only thing is you have to assess what is the amount of rainfall that has come within a particular time span into the city. First is, so that for that purpose you have the area with us in the remote sensing process, and then you get the information from the meteorology department how much is the amount of rainfall, or you have a own setup where you can also judge at number of points within the city what is the amount of rainfall that has taken place within a specific time. So volume of water is estimated at every point of time, and along with every point of time amount of water available with the city, inside the city, what are the drainage lines, what are their carrying capacities, and where are the blocking lines which will be available on real-time basis during that particular flooding time. So accordingly, where are the disposals, where are the spillovers, and where are the problems of flooding. The entire thing can be a live monitoring of the whole phenomena, just like a streaming video. So things are possible like this. And the next one is for a land use land cover for watershed management is one of the most important features, because for any watershed management you need what is the type of land use occurring in that particular area. That is the first, that is the background information. So we create a base map based on the real-time data of this remote sensing, satellite remote sensing, and then you try to see what you are going to create a kind of maneuvering or doing something that will be helping in the watershed development program, and what are the problems in that watershed needs to be addressed. So with the land use land cover, any kind of earth work or any kind of drainage renovation work or any kind of check dams or the water harvesting structures or anything that is possible, you can plan it out with the digital elevation model created for that based on the data, so remote sensing data from the SRTM or from the Cartosat to or from Cartosat 1. So whatever the satellite data is available, you can create a DEM inside your laboratory, and entire thing can be planned out with the establishment of slope and all other features of the watershed for which you are going for a planning. Along with that also you have a scope to monitor the total water carrying capacity of that particular watershed and what is the yield of water from that watershed in different times with different amount of rainfall. So all these things are possible. Okay, am I clear?
Yes, sir. It was a very nice presentation, and I hope Sir Hemchandra Pawar, yes. Hemchandra Pawar has asked,
Okay.
what are the websites from where they can take the free satellite images? Sir?
They can take the fees,
Free satellite images they can download.
free satellite measures.
Sir.
Okay. There are quite a number of, in our case from Indian satellite, there is a site called Bhuvan, from where they can download the satellite images of least 3 which is available for their different areas, for their own village, for their own city and for their own districts, and like this there is a lot of information available on the site Bhuvan. And if you go to the Landsat satellite imageries, there is also a host of information available with the old Landsat data. And there are quite a number of satellite missions, and each satellite mission is having their own. So there is no standardized, except that our Indian Bhuvan site. There are quite a number of sites which are available. They have to search it out. We can feed them with a list what is available so that they can use it for creating the database of the satellite images. Okay, we can give that along with our write-up for the lecture. We can give the number of list of softwares for GIS, list of softwares for remote sensing, list of softwares for GIS, this remote sensing database, free softwares, and
Sir,
some of the free softwares also. Together we can provide them.
Sir, another question is there from Mr.
Yes.
Achananda.
Okay.
Sir, is the cell phone's GPS location affected by Earth's magnetic field? He has inquired.
This is not a question which I should answer. This is what a scientist has to answer from a different dimension altogether. So as far as the cell phone gives us the locations, magnetic fields are always there. So how it is affecting us is a question which the scientists can tell who are dealing with those themes. Probably I am not the right person to give an answer. And even if I give an answer, that becomes an answer which is very well known to all our participants based on our common sense.
Sir, exactly.
Okay.
Sir, another question Hemchand Pawar has asked, is it possible to predict groundwater availability with satellite images?
The question of groundwater availability has been prospected to identify areas where possible groundwater is likely to be there. But the total amount of groundwater availability has not yet been assessed to a scientific level so that we are clear about that how much water is stored. So the satellite image has not been, because satellite images gives the information of the ground and just below the ground surface, not much deeper inside. And normally the groundwater aquifers are much below. So we are not in a position to use the remote sensing data for the information to be collected from much below, except that possibility of existence of a groundwater aquifer may be prospected through the satellite. Otherwise, satellite images or remote sensing process. Otherwise, we cannot assess the total volume of water in the ground aquifers.
Thank you, sir. Actually, it is a great pleasure to listen to you. And the 2 lectures are actually 2 invaluable documents here. And thanks a lot, sir. Thank you so much. You could spare your time to deliver 2 lectures, which our participants have enjoyed a lot. And subsequently, any queries actually the participants would like to ask, they can ask through mail, and which I will forward to the sir, and you will get your answers. Sir, thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, sir. Now this session ends, and we will start the next session at 12 noon, sir.